Hi, welcome back to the Beginner Gear series. So today is a special episode because we're gonna share some tips with you to help you buy your first snowboard.
Yeah, that's a big moment, right?
Oh yeah. So your first snowboard is important, because it's either gonna help you in your progression or maybe slow you down. So, let's say we're ready to buy your board. What do we need to look for on a snowboard?
So we're going to cover these things in this episode today. We're going to talk about board shape. We're going to talk about board flex. We'll talk about the board profile. And we'll talk about the different kinds of bases that exist as well. And we'll give you some tips on how to choose the right board size for your height and your weight. We'll talk about what we ride as instructors and give you some recommendations as to what would be good for beginners. So when someone is going to buy their first board, what do they need to know about board shape?
Right, so you have lots of different board shapes. The two one you want to focus on is either the twin shape or the directional shape. So twin shape is when you have the same length, the same size of nose, front of the board, and tail, back of the board. Directional is when the nose, like my board here, the nose is very long and the tail is quite smaller. So why twin is great for beginners is, as I said, so it's the same size, which will allow you to go either to the right or to the left. Because either which foot is forward, but sometimes, to initiate your turn, like it's easier to go, still easier to go to the other direction. That will be possible. Or maybe you don't know yet which foot is leading, and therefore you could try, turning with your right foot forward or your left foot forward. That will not matter. So
it's more versatile. You can.
I would say so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good. And what about
More
directional?
playful.
What's that good for?
Yeah. So directional, I wouldn't recommend it necessarily to start with.
Okay.
Like maybe when you start to link your turn, then you get more performance out of the board. So, yeah.
Okay. So what might someone need to know about snowboard flex?
Right. So there are three different flex. It can either be soft, medium, or stiff. So when you start snowboarding, I suggest that you stick with soft, medium, because it's going to be easier to initiate your turn. It's going to be more forgiving, right? Stiffer board, again, that would be for a little bit later in your progression, and you can, maybe you're not as athletic yet, so it will ask you more strength in your lower limbs. So yeah, I would say that, yeah. Okay, so let's say you go to the shop or you go online and you have what we call the specs, so all the technical information that will help you to choose the right board for you. There are words like camber, reverse camber, what else? Moustache, flying V. What are all these words for, and what's the best for our beginners?
Okay, so everything you just mentioned, those are all terms to describe the profile of a snowboard. So the profile means how the snowboard bends. All right, so this is where we can create energy in the snowboard and how that energy is going to get released as we move around on the snow. So the first one we can describe is called traditional camber. All right, so this is where when we put the snowboard down on a flat surface, the nose and the tail are touching and the board bows up in the middle. So when we push down in the center, it's a bit springy, right?
Right, so it's that the one I've talked, like that's a camber, right? Like,
that's traditional camber.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So it's a bit like a sad face, like the shape you're describing.
We could call it that. Yeah, that sounds good. And then the opposite of that is called reverse camber, right? So that means that this board, again, on a flat surface, this time the center of the board is touching and the nose and the tail go upwards. So when we push on those are the springy bits.
Right, like a happy face, like a banana.
That's it, right? It's funny actually you call it banana, because one of the first reverse camber boards that came on the market that I remember was called the Skate Banana. That was by Libtech. And,
right. When was that?
I think that was around 2000, early 2000s.
Right. Wow.
And it was,
Already.
it would rock the industry because it was this new shape that came out, right? Now there's a bunch of new shapes. So we've got camber, reverse camber. We've got rocker. If something is slightly rockered, it means that there's probably some traditional camber, and then maybe on the nose, it's got reverse camber, right? And so that's a hybrid sort of construction. And there's a bunch of different hybrid constructions out there on the market, and each serves a particular purpose.
So we won't overwhelm you here.
No.
Which one from the one you brilliantly described is the best, you think?
For people buying their first board, I would recommend you either get a traditional camber board or flat camber, zero camber. Those exist as well.
So how is that helping? Like how is that going to help for beginners?
What that's going to do, I mean, with a reverse camber, if you lean over it, there's nothing there to support you, so it's a bit easier to fall. Which is why I don't personally recommend getting something with a rocker on the tips, because it's too easy to fall over the edges. And traditional camber with, that's soft, that's, as you said, a soft flex, is something that we can manipulate. We can move it pretty easily, and as you progress, it'll give you some good energy and some good edge hold along the entire length of the snowboard.
Right. Okay.
Right. And flat camber will give you good edge hold as well. And it's just not as performance driven as a camber snowboard. So either one of those I would recommend.
Great. Thanks. Yeah. Okay. So when you're ready to buy your snowboard, there's few more things to think about, which will be your height, your weight, and the size of your feet.
Absolutely. So we're going to start with foot size.
Right.
I'm a US size 10, and I ride a standard snowboard. I don't ride the wide version of the snowboard, but I could. Size 10 is right on the cutoff for needing that wide snowboard, right? US size 11 or 12, you should be riding a wide version of the snowboard.
Yeah, and that's valid for women as well. Like US size 12, no, we have board. I don't think that was the case in the past, but like the board can be wider, which is so important in your progression. Otherwise, you have heel or toe drag, which, your toes dragging on the snow, like you don't want that in your progression.
Yeah, I felt that before. I remember I've been in a turn, and then, you bank a little bit too much, and you feel the heel hit the snow,
so bad.
And you lose grip completely, and you end up on your bum. Even though you're in the right position, you're doing everything correctly, it's a equipment issue. So
right, yeah, you don't want that.
No, okay. And what about height? How can people choose the right size of snowboard?
The way we've done it, like to help students choose, their board rental and so on, is from chest to shin. Well, maybe there are other ways to measure it, but that's how I've been doing it. That worked pretty well. Chest to chin between this, right? If the board is at the nose, for example, it's going to start to be a little bit too long, or maybe down, lower chest, a little bit too small.
Now, I'm a tall guy, but I don't weigh a whole lot. So my snowboard comes to right around my chest here. So it's on the lower end of that range that you just talked about, because I'm lighter than other people. If someone had more mass, they were heavier than me, but the same height, maybe they'd need a slightly taller board, right? On the taller end of that spectrum, because it'll give them more stability, it'll support them better, and they probably have more muscles, so they'll be able they won't be able to move the board around as much.
Yeah.
Anyway, the heavier you are, the taller end of the spectrum. And if you really need some help to be able to choose what size, go on to snowboardselector.com. They have a wonderful snowboard size tool. Okay, you just put in your height, your weight, and it'll spit out some recommendations for you in terms of sizes. That's it. Yeah, okay. High five.
High five. Okay, tricky question. Does the base of the snowboard matter or not?
I would say yes. So there's a few different types of bases, but the two main bases of a snowboard are going to be either an extruded base or a sintered base. All right, so extruded means that it's basically plastic that has been melted down, poured into a mold, hardens, and becomes the base of the snowboard. Sintered is powdered plastic that is then compressed with heat and pressure, and just to the point where that powder can kind of grab onto each other. It's not melted down to a liquid like extruded base, but just enough so that it forms a solid.
Right. So what's the difference then, you know, for our people again? Like, so how is that affecting maybe, I don't know, the price? What does it affect?
That's it. Practically speaking, extruded bases are simpler to make, so they're cheaper.
Right.
And they're also not going to be as strong. Sintered bases are stronger, which means if you hit a rock, chances are your sintered base is going to withstand it more than an extruded base.
Yeah, so it depends where you ride, and maybe if you start riding right at the beginning of the season where you don't have that much coverage and stuff like that, yeah?
Yeah. And then part of it as well is speed. If, let's say you've got two boards with the different bases and you maintain them exactly the same way, the sintered base is going to be faster. Right. It's just a higher quality base. However, if you don't maintain them, you don't wax them regularly.
Like this board, which is dry because it's summertime.
Well, guess what?
We're surfing.
An extruded base would probably be faster.
Oh, there you go.
Extruded bases are weaker than sintered bases, but they're faster without maintenance. Okay, so it kind of depends on you. How much love are you going to give to your snowboard? And how strong do you need it to be?
Yeah, what's your budget?
A budget as well. Extruded bases are cheaper. So on beginner, entry-level snowboards, that's what helps to bring the price range down.
Right, cool. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so talking about budget, to buy a new board for beginners, I think you're looking at 450 Australian dollar, which is what? How much is that?
It's about 300 euros or 300 US dollars.
Yeah, right.
There.
Yeah, I think that's a good start, because then you also add your bindings and what else?
Boots.
Oh, your boots.
Your boots. Can't go snowboarding without boots.
No, you can't.
No.
So
that's a good ballpark.
Yeah.
And all the brands, most brands make entry-level snowboards too, right? So just follow the recommendations that we've covered in this video in terms of board shape, board flex, and
your weight,
board
your
profile.
Size. Yeah,
all those things. Go on, do your homework, and I would also say, I think we would agree that snowboarding is an ecosystem of companies. There's lots of small ones and there's bigger ones, right? So find a company that resonates with your values and support them.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you teach, what kind of board do you use?
I use a Burton Custom. The reason that I use a Burton Custom is because I find that it's the jackknife of snowboarding. It's suitable for park, all mountain, free riding, groomers, everything. And I don't know who I'm going to be teaching in the morning and who I'm going to be teaching in the afternoon. So I ride a Burton Custom.
Yeah, so something more versatile, like
exactly.
You want to be ready for anything.
Yeah.
Any terrain,
as an instructor, right?
Yeah.
What about you as an instructor?
Yeah, same. So I used to ride like the Burton Feel Good, which is same, like ready for park, ready for powder, ready for pipe also. Like you have to think about Whistler as well. That's it's a very polyvalent mountain. So yeah, as you say, you can have beginner in the morning and the afternoon, I don't know, like a steep clinic or something. So you want to be ready for that, which the Feel Good really.
So you didn't ride that beautiful board?
No. So this one is my board. This one is my board and I love it. It's a free ride board. And what I love about it also, not only, well, I'm going to start with the fact that it's manufactured in Whistler, Canada, BC. So here we're talking about local snowboarding manufacturer, which I love to support personally. And then the really great and inspiring art of Vanessa Stark, local artist from Pemberton, BC. Check her out. I love this board. So that's more like my free time. Say like I have a bit of time between lessons or morning session, I will take this board.
I've actually got
this one is my favorite.
I have a second Burton Custom that I use for personal days that I don't use for teaching, because I know my teaching board's going to get scratched, it's going to get stepped on, it's going to get all sorts of abuse.
What's the English expression?
What?
It's a tool, not a
jewel.
Jewel.
Yeah,
I love that.
Jewel.
Yeah,
so those are teachers talking to you. You go out and buy your jewel though.
Oh yeah.
Using all these wonderful tips. You got this thing. Get out there, have some fun, and find your board. Okay, so thank you so much for joining us today and going through Snowboards 101 here in this episode. So in the next episode, we're going to do the exact same deep dive, but into snowboard boots.
Oh yeah.
All right, so we'll see you there. Thanks again.